Yes guys, and welcome from me, this is Championship Manager 0102, another red hot tip for you. This is more my perspective of this, because you can see it's all to do with attributes. Now attributes, everyone has a different opinion, perspective of what they see as ideal attributes for whatever position. So you may not agree with me, but you know what? Who cares? Okay, so what are the key attributes? I'm also going to show you the fourth column attributes and how you get them really briefly. So we'll start with a central defender. So we'll start with Ruben Diaz. A central defender. So for me, there's a lot. There's a lot of key attributes for a position, but I think you sometimes want to shrink it down for your player search. So in my opinion, tackling, positioning and marking are the three key ones for a central defender. There's no doubt about that. Obviously, there are others, you know, decisions, bravery, passing, pace, teamwork, influence, because your captain probably would be somebody at the back. So there are massive ones. You will see that I've got my fourth column attributes lit, and for those of you that don't know, you get your fourth column attributes through your main page of a Nix patcher. So any Nix patcher, not the MISC patches, the main setup, it says fourth column attributes, and they will include, as you can see, adaptability, big games, consistency, corners, dirtiness, fitness, injury prone, loyalty, one-on-ones, penalties, and versatility. For me, that fourth column attributes is brilliant because penalties is a really important one. Injury prone is a massive one. Those two alone, I'd love to be able to cherry pick which ones I want, but those are really important. Anyway, back to the subject in hand. So that's my opinion for a central defender. Now then, let's take a look at a defensive midfielder. So we'll take Rodri. Now, defensive midfielder can be really difficult because you have a lot of defensive midfielders in today's society that are sort of attacking defensive midfielders, if that even makes sense. So, for me, Rodri has them all tipped here. Tackling and passing, I think, are massive for a defensive midfielder. It's very difficult, ordinarily, to have a natural defensive midfielder who is tackling, passing and positioning. But the reason I say, when I mean natural, I mean just a defensive midfielder. But decisions, I think, is massive as well when it comes to a defensive midfielder. So, realistically, I'd say tackling, passing, and decisions, just so they know what they're doing. That being said, again, there are a lot of others that are really important. Positioning is really important. Technique is really good. If they're going to bomb forward, pace, long shots, anticipation maybe. Sorry, I should have said anticipation maybe for defence as well, because they want to know, you know, where they're going, I guess. They don't want to try and work out. But if we talk about anticipation, let's talk about a goalkeeper, because anticipation would be important for a goalkeeper. But the three obvious ones for a goalkeeper, and I think everybody will agree here, is handling, reflexes, and agility. But there are several others. Anticipation, decisions is massive. Positioning is important. Jumping is important. You know, now with the fourth column attributes here, fourth column attributes, the one-on-ones, that is a goalkeeping attribute. So 18 would look really good. I mean, Edison is a quality goalkeeper, to be honest with you. So very, very important. Let's go now then to an attacking midfielder. Let me try and pick someone that is just an attacking midfielder. Nunez. Okay, probably not the greatest example. So attacking midfielder, a natural attacking midfielder. You're looking at passing and dribbling. You know, long shots. Those are a few key ones, to say the least. But you almost need a variation. I mean, defensive ones are not so important. Finishing is important. Long shots, passing, pace, off the ball. Heading, flair, technique, creativity, you know, there is a lot. But if we look at someone like, we'll look for the big one now, De Bruyne. De Bruyne is your perfect AMC because De Bruyne has got dribbling of 25, passing 26. Now you can see he's got an ability of 25 in crossing. He is a right winger as well, so it would be ideal for the right wing. I don't personally play De Bruyne on the right wing because his pace is 16, very good pace for a right winger. So we're talking right wingers as well, but he's 32. So I think he's definitely, with the passing, I mean, creativity 16, dribbling, he's got massive attributes for an attacking midfield central there, but he would certainly do a good job on the right wing. So we say about on the right wing or the left wing, Bernardo Silva, for me, on the wing, it's about pace, it's about creativity, it's about crossing. Crossing is massive, as well as things like dribbling. And although I've been playing Silva on the left, I like my wingers to have a cross, someone on the crossing with an ability of at least 15. But it just proves you can make up for it in other areas. If we look at Jack Grealish here, Jack Grealish is also an attacking midfielder, but he can play on the left wing, but he can play in the middle, a dribbling of 22. If you've got somebody on the wing who's got some, pace. If you're going to utilise pace as a key attribute, it really on the wing or even fullback, or even wing back, you need him to have a good acceleration as well, so they can begin their big bomb down the wing. Jack Grealish in this particular game, which hasn't really gone too far in, has done really well. Let's take a look at another attacking midfielder. Have I had any? No, I haven't really got any more, have I? Okay, so let's have a look now then at a forward. Ferran Torres, a player we bought. Now, a forward who, if you're going to play him, whether up top alongside another striker or just behind in the hole, where would you play Ferran Torres? Because I'd probably have De Bruyne just behind Haaland. But in terms of the key attributes, you're looking here at dribbling and finishing. Dribbling, finishing, pace, off the ball, passing. But it's a big role. It's a big role, because I'm going to come to a striker in a minute. But, he could technically play on the wing. And he's got the attributes to play on the wing. There's acceleration and pace that we were talking about. Dribbling, finishing, crossing, creativity. He really is a versatile player. He's only 23 years of age as well. So let's take a look now then at Haaland. Okay, now just remind yourself here that I've got the attribute 20 uncapped here. Haaland, the three most important attributes for me as a striker is finishing, off the ball, and pace. And as you can see, Haaland fucking kills it. He really does kill it. And of course, he's got all the other attributes to boot as well. Tackling is only 11, but I say only 11, which is pretty good for someone such a beastly striker. So they're the three main strikers. And if you look at Liam Delap, you can see the big difference in quality. But Delap has got the potential to turn into a good player. There's no doubt about that. Absolutely. Let's take a look now then at Gnabry. Gnabry, very versatile. Where would you play him? Because his attributes, for me, that's what I look at. I look at his attributes and I think, where's his best position? Now, you may have a different perspective of someone's best position might be in a position that he don't actually play. So you may look at his attributes and think, it'd be ideal in defence, hypothetically, but he's not a defender. I look at Gnabry and I think, you look at the rest of your team, obviously, and think where he'd sit. I've been using him on the right wing. On the right wing, or the left wing, because he's either-footed, but I've been playing him on the right wing because he's got the crossing ability, he's got dribbling, he's got pace, he's done really, really well. The only downside of Gnabry, although I knew this when I purchased him, is his injury prone is 10. Ordinarily, I like to go for a player with an injury prone of below 10, but I took the punt there and spent a few quid to bring him over. Let's have a look now then at Phil Foden. So Phil Foden, same position here as Gnabry. The difference about Foden is his preferred foot is left-footed. Now, it's funny really because he was playing when De Bruyne was out injured and he hasn't done too bad, but you can see generally, if you look at these attributes on the second column here, they're not quite as strong as what we've been looking at. Yes, he has got the passing ability of 21, dribbling 20, creativity 16. He could come in on the left. If I show you the formation I'm playing, that's my formation I'm playing. So he could quite easily play just where Nunes is playing, could play where Sana's playing. But remember, he's a forward as well, has been playing behind Haaland. So it's a bit. He's very versatile. He's still got he's got a big future ahead of him. Let's have a look at another one of my newest recruits, Leroy Sané. Sané, left-footed. I think Sané for me is an obvious left winger. He's an obvious left winger, which I'm obviously quite comfortable in with Silva as well. So he's got. I mean, they're not the dog's bollocks. They're not De Bruyne. They're not Haaland attributes. And I think when you've got players like Jack Grealish, who's getting better and better. When you've got Foden coming in, Rodri. Now let's go back to defence. Now then we're going to look at John Stones and this guy, Joshua Kimmich. Where's his best position with his attributes? Attributes, as I said, it can be really interesting. It's obviously they've done it to reflect real life, and I'll reflect to that when I look at John Stones in a minute, because I know more about John Stones than I know Kimmich. But Kimmich, very, very balanced. I mean, I did say to you, central defender really needs to be tackling, positioning and marking. Well, if that's the case, tackling, positioning, marking in that order is 15, 16, 16. I would want ordinarily somebody a bit stronger. So realistically, although I bought him and I'm not using fullbacks, I think he's more maybe a maybe a right back or a defensive midfielder. But that being said, he is he's got such versatility. He's got attributes all over the shop. Could even play him as a wing back if you were using wing back roles. So if we look at John Stones, now in real life, John Stones played a lot of games for Man City last season in defensive midfield alongside Rodri. That's probably why they've made him a defensive midfielder on this last update, which is the October 2022 update. Again, 29 years of age. He don't jump out the page, but as a defensive midfielder, he's solid, and he's also a better central defender, in my opinion, than Kimmich, in my opinion. Let's take a look at a central midfielder now. We haven't looked at that. Conor Gallagher. I sold Kovacic. And I brought Conor Gallagher purely because he was unhappy at Chelsea, and we got him for £8 million. We got him for £7 million. Now, you could argue where I'm playing Rodri, you'd have a central midfielder because I'm not using him in a defensive midfield slot. For me, this is all about passing. Now, I've got a lot of experience of using central midfielders in my three-man game, and that is a similar formation. So for me, the key attributes on a central midfielder is passing, tackling, and finishing, which can be hard to come by, obviously. But you can see, so passing, in this order, passing, tackling, finishing, is 14, 14, 13, which ain't bad. He's only 23, determination 16, pace, he's a good player. He can get better and better, in my opinion. I don't like Conor Gallagher in real life, which tends to sway me to not buy him, but I had to deal with it. That again, as I said, this is just purely my opinion. In terms of players that we purchased here, Cornet, he was available for a low amount because he was unhappy. Either foot, so that's, for me, that's important. Either foot, that's just as important as an attribute. He's either footed. He's a natural right winger or left winger based on his position. He ain't going to jump out the page, but he'll do a job. He'll do a job. And I've got this little theory, right, that I read from Jose Mourinho a couple of months ago, I think it was. He said that every great team has an African player in. Every great team that he's had, shall I say, has always had an African in. Whether it be Didier Drogba, etc. So I'm going to try and reflect to that. I think it's a pile of shit because Man United have had great teams where they've not had an African player in. So it makes a mockery of it, really. Okay, let's look at another player now then. Pedro Goncalves. So I bought him. Very versatile. Where's his best position? Before I say it, have a look. Tell me what you guys think before I tell you what I think where his best position is. And I'll be honest with you, I bought him for this position. The fact that he's got a lot of versatility is a bonus, but I bought him to be a forward behind the striker because I'm looking down here, dribbling and finishing are superb, decisions, creativity. He can play on the left wing. That would be an emergency left wing because he's not left-footed, but he can play on the right wing. He can play in the middle of the park based on my formation because he's got passing of 16. But ordinarily, I'd play him behind Haaland. Now, if Haaland was injured, Liam Delap is probably nowhere near good enough, and I cannot spend any more money because I've got no more money to spend. I'd probably put Ferran Torres up top. As you probably gathered, for whatever reason, Torres didn't play in my last game, and I put Foden up there. But finishing 15, for me, that warrants that can go up top as a forward, because what is the difference between a forward and a striker? I think that's a debate for another video, another day. But for me, it's all about looking at the attributes to make that call if they can go up top. Adingra, we got him from Brighton for £34 million. I think we made a bit of a fuck up, really, because probably a bit of a waste of 34 million. But where's his best position? He plays in the same position as the exact same position, sorry, as Goncalves, as in same position, same foot. Adingra. So I would say personally the right wing for him. He's the right foot and off the ball pace, dribbling, finishing, crossing, acceleration. You know, looks a fucking good player to have in squad. Let's take a look now then. Anybody else that we haven't looked at yet? Have I missed anybody? We haven't looked at Mangala. Now, we picked up Mangala because he became unhappy at Forest, and it was only £6 million. Now, obviously, Rodri's going to be my number one player if I'm going to use a defensive midfielder, and he's he's all right. You know, I saw he had injury prone of only 6. He's got a real balance there. I said to you, defensive midfielders, tackling and passing, 14, 15, and decisions, 14. So he probably wouldn't walk into the Man City team. I mean, he didn't make it into the Forest team, so how's he going to get into this team? But nevertheless, he's okay. Let's have a quick gander back in defence. Did we look at... I can't remember if we looked at... well, if we did, we did. Okay, so these defenders, you know... I mean, we brought in Sarr. He was unhappy at Chelsea. Still young. Let's have a look now then. I brought in this guy, the Albanian goalkeeper from Brentford. He becomes unhappy, and I could pick him up for what I feel is an absolute bargain of £5 million. I said to you, handling and reflexes 15-15 and agility 17. But look at the others. Positioning is good, jumping is good, decisions is good. He's actually a lot better than what he's given credit for. Not as good as Edison, no doubt about that. He's not as good as Edison by no means, but still a good player. And the last one we'll do now then, before we fuck off, is what we'll do is let's just have a look at. Let's just cherry pick one player, shall we? I know who we'll look at. I know exactly who we'll look at, and you can give me your views. For fuck's sake, really? What was the chances of that? Mo Salah. So, Salah, now take into account he is 31 years of age. Take into account he's an inside winger. I mean, what a fucking player. I'd expect him to be above 800 in 10 games personally. But, where's his best position? His attributes would, for me, put him as a out-and-out striker. Now, just remember something, guys. With regards to the attributes and ideal position, you can use... it pains me. You can use the editor or third-party programs to determine his best position, because it will have a rating out of 20 for him as a right winger, for him as a forward, for him as a striker. But I don't like that. I would rather have that as my fourth column attributes, personally. But... yeah, he can play on the wing. He can definitely do a job on the right wing, or in this modern society, modern day football, an inside right wing, an inside forward, because he's got the creativity as well. He has still got pace. I think recently, you know, in real life, he plays more sort of on that wing, and he's got the pace to warrant that. So probably on that right side, but he is left-footed. I fucking hate that. He's right. He's a forward right centre, but left-footed, which again I think tends to be very similar. Now, let's have a look. Who else? Who else had ridiculous attributes like that? I'll tell you, this is an interesting one. Just a real quick blast at him. This was done. This update, as you know, when Evan Ferguson was the bollocks of Brighton. Now that's all gone. That all went quiet in the second half of the season, but. he's got a lot of potential. His injury prone is 10, but he's got a lot of potential, I feel. And I did put a 50 million bid in. They said no. So, fuck them, is what I say. I'm trying to think if there's anybody else that's got particularly good attributes. Jarrod Bowen's actually very good. Now, Jarrod Bowen is another one. You know, he's got that borderline forward, right, left, centre. Does he play up top? I think realistically, going back to Mo Salah a minute ago, he would slide in nicely into that sort of inside forward slot on the left side because he's left-footed. Very good player. I think I did make a bid for him as well, but they told me to get stuffed. And that is basically it, guys. I think there ain't really too much more we need to say. Got a bit of a bee in my bonnet about Ivan Toney at the minute. Should not have been called up for England, in my opinion. I do rate Toney. I think he's a fucking beastly striker. And I'm getting a bit sick, right, of people saying, oh, what we would do with Toney up top, Arsenal in particular, Toney this, Toney that, Toney this, Toney that. Let me remind you all that Toney has just served a big ban for, you know, what do we call it? Corruption. So are we forgetting that? Are we fucking forgetting it? You know, when Mike Tyson went down for rape, yeah, it was a case of Tyson's a rapist, Tyson's this, Tyson's that, which is fine. You forget that he was a good boxer, and I think rightly so, because they tarnish that reputation by doing. So as far as I'm concerned, Ivan Toney is a cheat. I know some people will disagree with me, and I don't, you know, I don't agree with cheats. I really don't agree with cheats. It's a bit like when Rio Ferdinand missed his drugs test and got an 8-month ban. People saying it's too excessive. No, it wasn't. I don't care which way you put it. You don't go to a planned drugs test. That you know, you've got something to hide. And if you've not got something to hide, then you've been exposed. Ivan Toney. And my issue really is because Ivan Toney played for Peterborough, my hometown, and Peterborough I feel is very corrupt. And that's been proven about corruption with betting, because Barry Fry with betting. Recently our goalkeeping coach betting. We had an issue last season where we didn't declare someone's position within the finance department, and we got a suspended fine, suspended points deduction. The fucking football is fucking corrupt. It is really fucking corrupt. So with attributes, right, when I started this game as Man City, and I said to you about the fourth column attributes, I would have ordinarily have kept Doku. I mean, I like Doku in real life, to be honest with you, but you can see why I got rid of Doku. Of course I got rid of him for this. Injury prone, 18. You know, there's just no point. There's just absolutely no point. I got rid of Cancelo because I'm not using fullbacks, but also to bring some money in. A player, now very, very good player, but they came into the bid around the 30th of August, so 2 days before the window shut. And then I negotiated it to get some players, and they came back with £101 million, which then, of course, as you can see, that was on the 31st. I then quickly went out and spent what I could of it. Going back to the injury prone, so I've got a player, you all know who I'm going to here, Calvin Phillips. Injury prone 18, and he is actually wanted now, so I need him to fuck off. And I've listed all my players for half their value. He was 12 million, which means he's going down, which ain't always a good sign. So, the attributes, you know, some people, I don't know, I mean, let me go back to Rodri a minute, right? You could look at Rodri and you could think, do you know what, I'm going to put him in central defence. Now, I read something ages ago on the forums that you get when you play a player out of position, you get what's called a default point on their average rating, on their rating. I don't believe that. I think that's rubbish. I think that's a fucking myth, personally. But I wouldn't do it unless it was. You know, I've done it where I've played a defender in defensive midfield, and he's got me a 10. So now unless you're telling me that he got an 11, but he got a 10 because he got a penalty point, it's rubbish. I think personally. So when you first start a brand new game with the update, players like Haaland, De Bruyne and Salah, they really are the dog's bollocks. So I'll tell you what, I've just thought of another player we should look at. Okay, so 36 years of age, Messi. Where is Messi? I mean, very, very Salah. Position-wise, very Salah. But let's be honest, Messi came up in his career when we didn't have this inside forward thing. Messi was up top. I mean, I don't think I've got American Open. I haven't got the American Open, so can't really take that as gospel, to be honest with you. He's out of contract. He's got a 2-year deal. We'll see how he flares up. But look at that. They've got Sergio Busquets. Didn't realise that. Well, I'm trying to think what I feel his best position would be with his attributes. I'd probably say, again with the modern football, inside forward on the right. Because I think the idea is, right, correct me if I'm wrong here, but with that inside forward shit, because I don't like it, everybody uses it and I hate it. So with that inside forward, is it like they're expecting, so let's pretend we've got Messi or Salah here, they're there, but they're left-footed, so they'd almost sort of like go like that. Almost. Who knows? But, I mean, nevertheless, he's a quality player. I mean, I'd say the inside forward, but I think traditionally, you'd have him up top, wouldn't you? You'd have him up top. Imagine, right, if you could have Messi, Salah, and Haaland, along with De Bruyne playing just behind. Let's have a look at Kylian Mbappe, actually. I forgot about him. Okay, so yeah, Mbappe. I'm trying to cherry pick the certain players that are going to have ridiculous attributes. Mbappe, inside forward maybe, out and out striker maybe. I mean, look at that. And he's only 24 years of age as well. 846. I remember playing on my the last update, the previous update before the last April. I played a Salford game and I got Mbappe. Absolutely fucking insane. Look at him, and he'll get better. There's no doubt he'll get better. That's obviously a natural average rating. Actually, look at that. He's only got 1 year on his deal. Of course he has. Fucking hell. And that's good. He's unhappy as well. Have to keep an eye on that bastard. So yeah, where would you play him? I feel. It depends, obviously. If I had him at Man City, I wouldn't have him up top. I'd have him, though. Ordinarily, you'd have him up top. I think that finishing, pace, and off the ball are crucial. They're absolutely crucial. Remember, as an out-and-out striker, they'd also need to be good strength, good heading. Now, his strength is 16. I'm not sure if that really is realistic. I think Haaland is a proper striker with strength. You know, he's got a lot of physicalness. Lukaku's your proper striker. For me, Mbappe's not. But he's got the speed, Mbappe. He's got the speed. So, that is another video done and dusted, guys. That is attributes. So, hope you enjoyed it. If you've got anything you want to add, let me know. Till next time, take it easy.